Hello, everyone, and welcome to the June 2024 UCLA Tarjan Center Distinguished Lecture Series. I'm Dr. Jasper Estabio, Director of Training for the Tarjan Center. It's my pleasure to be here with you all today. A couple reminders before we get started. For simultaneous CART closed captioning, please click on the link set in the chat to begin viewing the stream text. Also enter your questions for our wonderful speakers into the Q&A throughout the talk, and we'll facilitate discussion at the end of the presentation. After today's lecture, please complete the evaluation survey to provide feedback and suggestions for future lectures. The link to the evaluation survey will be sent in the chat today, as well as in a follow-up email later this week. And with that, I will introduce our two speakers today. We have Doctors Rebecca Brooks and Allison Jobin, and we will see them on camera in just a moment. Thank you. All right, so Dr. Rebecca Brooks serves as an associate professor in the Department of Special Education and is the program director for the Aspiring Scholars Program, an inclusive post-secondary education program for students with intellectual disabilities at California State University, San Marcos. Dr. Brooks has worked with individuals with disabilities in recreational, vocational, residential, and educational settings for over 30 years. Prior to her faculty appointment, she served as a special educator in public schools for 16 years, dedicating her career to including students with disabilities in general education settings. She developed peer tutoring programs and focused on creating accessible curriculum for all students. Her published works have been in the areas of inclusive education, curriculum adaptations, and peer tutoring. She's a nationwide presenter and consultant in the area of effective inclusive schooling practices. Her research interests focus on access to general education curriculum, accommodations and modifications, the development and implementation of peer tutoring support systems, and inclusive post-secondary education programs. Dr. Allison Jobin is an assistant professor in the Department of Psychology at California State University, San Marcos, an investigator at the Child and Adolescent Services Research Center. She also serves as the Associate Director for the CSUSM Aspiring Scholars Program, an inclusive post-secondary education program for students with intellectual disabilities. Dr. Jobin is a licensed psychologist and doctoral level board-certified behavior analyst with over 20 years of clinical and research experience in the delivery, supervision, and training of others in evidence-based practices, or EBPs. Her expertise are in the treatment and evaluation of autism and the effective delivery of EBPs in community settings. Prior to joining CSUSM, Dr. Jobin spent many years at Rady Children's Hospital and UC San Diego in clinical and research roles, where she gained practical experience moving evidence-based practices for autism into the community. Her work has focused on naturalistic developmental behavioral interventions, parent-mediated treatments, and the implementation of EBP approaches for autism within inclusive early childhood education programs. Among her current research interests are the examination of factors influencing intervention delivery and routine care, strategies to promote high-quality practices, and adaptations to improve fit within varied contexts. Please join me in welcoming our speakers, Dr. Rebecca Brooks and Dr. Allison Jobin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let me just share my screen. So thank you again for inviting us to share about the early implementation of the Aspiring Scholars Inclusive Post-Secondary Education pilot program at CSU San Marcos. We're really excited to be here. And we just wrapped up our first year of our pilot program. So it's really wonderful, exciting timing. Our learning objectives for today are to identify the background and rationale for inclusive post-secondary education programs, promoting competitive integrative employment, and then also to describe the key components, barriers, and facilitators of a 4-year inclusive post-secondary education program. So a little bit of background. The employment rate for people with developmental disabilities is far below that of people with any disability, as pictured in this figure here, and certainly of the employment rate of the general population. And the data pictured here also indicate that while the employment rate is rising for individuals with any disability, represented by that blue line, it's slightly trending down for individuals with developmental disabilities represented by the red line. And importantly, what we don't have pictured here is the employment rates for a further subcategory of individuals with intellectual disabilities. It also doesn't capture a really important point of how many individuals are employed at a living wage or one that can support themselves. And then I also want to share, although not pictured here and a little bit outdated, is data from the State Council on Developmental Disabilities. In 2015 indicated that only 2% of adults with intellectual disabilities made a living wage in our state of California.
We wanted to take a moment to define competitive integrative employment in case anyone joining us today is not familiar with that term. We use that often with our program because while there are many, many benefits of inclusive post-secondary education programs, which we'll share with you today, one of our main goals for all students in our program is at the completion of our program to be able to have competitive integrative employment, which is working at a job that pays at least minimum wage, is a job with people with and without disabilities, and provides opportunities for hiring, raises, promotions, and does not preclude help to find or sustain a job. And some statistics we wanted to share with you is 8 out of 10 people with intellectual and developmental disabilities do not have a paid job in the community. 4 of those 8 people, 48%, want a job in the community. And of those 4, fewer than 2 people have a goal to get a job in the community documented in their individualized service plan. And so something that we really focus on in our program, and we're going to talk about different components of our program that prepare students for competitive integrative employment. Students with intellectual disabilities who obtain a paid job while enrolled in a college or university program were almost 15 times more likely to have a paid job at exit than those who did not obtain a paid job while enrolled. And we wanted to share this with you because another key component of our program is ensuring that students have opportunities for vocational training and being able to have paid opportunities while they are in the program. And so a piece of that you'll be able to see when we show the different components of our program is our internship component. And so we just wanted to highlight this so you can understand why we have it as one of our main components of our program. So as you can imagine, and as most of you know, there is limited access to higher education for college-age young adults with intellectual disabilities, which is why we started the program at CSUSM. As mentioned, and when you all learned a little bit about myself, I was a special education teacher for many years, and the bulk of my career was at high schools and supporting students with intellectual and developmental disabilities, seeing them be able to grow and learn and be included in high school campuses, and then watching them walk across that stage with their peers and being able to see their peers and a lot of times their siblings have the opportunity to choose to attend a four-year university, and then they themselves not have that opportunity, and then seeing that there weren't many inclusive options for them after leaving high school is really what inspired me to be able to implement a program like this at a four-year campus. And so we really, as we'll share, we really want to see not just the program that we started continue to grow, but we also want to see it grow throughout California as well as the US. So one of the things that they have found is that anywhere between 51 and 96%, depending on the research that you're looking at, of graduates of inclusive post-secondary education programs are in competitive integrative employment. And so there is showing that there is a great connection between these programs and making sure that students are prepared and have opportunities to become employed.
So a dire finding. So unfortunately, there are only about 200 four-year inclusive post-secondary education programs in the US overall. And this is doesn't sound like so small of a number if we think of it in absolute terms, but when you consider that there are almost 3,000 four-year universities, there are not very many of these in our in the nation. And then if we zoom into California, there are only 22 IPSC programs in California, and that includes programs within community colleges as well as those within universities. 9 of those programs are at universities. Only 2 of these programs are 4-year programs, even if they are at universities. So the 4-year programs that we are aware of are the one at CSU San Marcos and at UC Davis. And 6 of the 9 university programs were just recently established since 2022.
So as Ali mentioned, we are very excited to launch the program at CSUSM called the Aspiring Scholars Program, and we launched it in fall of 2023. And this is just a screenshot. This is one of our students and their peer mentor. This was the homepage of our university that they were highlighted on, which both students were very excited about. And we were really happy to be able to share that the program was up and running on our campus with our entire university and our community. And so next slide, Ellie, we wanted to highlight that our website, if anyone's interested in learning more, is at the top of the slide right there. And this is just, again, a screenshot from our Aspiring Scholars website. And what I wanted to highlight here is just the type of information that's on our website. If you were interested in learning more, it goes through everything from our mission, program overview, how to apply, costs, and peer mentoring. We will touch on some of these areas today with you to give you a little bit of background about the program. But what I did want to highlight on this page was, as I mentioned earlier, there's certain components of our program that we really focus on. We do a lot with the students every day and throughout the year, but the 4 areas that our program focuses on is students being supported and included in academic courses on our campuses, being able to participate in vocational internships, both paid and unpaid on and off campus, having independent living skills instruction, and then campus-wide social activities. So we're going to dive a little deeper into these 4 areas, but those are the areas that we really focus on with the goal, as I mentioned earlier, of competitive integrative employment for all students, which is something we hope for all students on a college campus.
Wonderful. So I'm going to walk us through the eligibility criteria for our program. And I apologize, I have a little bit of a coughing attack, so hopefully everyone's going to have to take over for me. So students are required to be at least 18 years of age with a documented intellectual disability, have completed high school with either a diploma or a certificate of completion. They are required to have a goal, of course, to gain meaningful competitive integrated employment and to be seeking an inclusive college experience and have that intrinsic motivation to participate in all aspects of the program. We do not provide 24/7 support for our program. And so this program, while we would like to welcome all students, students are required to be able to complete daily needs, access their physical environment, and safely function with minimal to no supervision. Of course, we support students as much as possible. And we do also have the ability for students to provide prearranged support, which we discuss with them on an individualized basis. And then the ability to effectively and appropriately participate and benefit from the program.
So students are enrolled through Open University, and they are not matriculated students, so they are attending courses through our extended learning program. They can enroll in any course on our campus as long as they meet the prerequisites. If you want to click a couple times, Ali. Thank you. And sorry. The Aspiring Scholars Program is a non-degree program. So upon completion, students will be receiving a higher education, academic, and employment certificate.
sorry about that. So our cost of our program, as Rebecca noted, this is through Open University. Tuition fees are per unit, so $350 per unit. Most of our classes at our university are 3-unit courses, and then students have additional required university fees that are included in the cost, and the required purchase of course materials that are required based on the courses in which they enroll. We are finding that some costs are able to be covered through publicly available resources, so the local regional center or the Department of Rehab.
So we just wanted to share and highlight that everything we do with students to provide them support is really allowing it to be very person driven. And so each student accepted into the program, we hold a yearly person driven planning meeting with them where they choose who attends, they run the meeting, and that is what really guides us as to how to best support students as to what classes they take. We want them choosing classes that align with their interests and their career aspirations. And one of the components, as I mentioned earlier, is campus life. And so many opportunities on university campuses, as you know, for students to get involved. And so again, so we can best support them, knowing what their interests are and what clubs and activities that they're interested in being involved in. All of that is generated at the person-driven planning meetings. When working with our employment department on campus and creating and scheduling possible internships. Again, everything that we find out about them and collect at these meetings is what guides us in supporting them and looking at what might be good matches for them. And so it really just wanted to focus how very student-centered it is, as far as it's not to where we have a set schedule or requirement of what it looks like for all students in the program. It's very, very individualized. Again, just like it would be for any college student on our campus.
So as Rebecca noted in our person-driven plans, we support students in choosing their classes and registering the courses that are a fit for their goals and interests. Students enroll in 2 courses per semester that they select. We do have students who have enrolled in more, so that's the minimum. We have vocational internships that begin in year 2. So we're in a very exciting time where we are working on identifying those internships and establishing them for our students in our upcoming second year. And they continue in these internships either on campus or community-based internships through the second, third, and fourth year of the program. Internships count as an additional class requirement. Courses are taken for credit or no credit, and students are asked to complete the course to the best of their ability. What this looks like is going to differ depending on the student and the course that they're enrolled in. And individualized accommodations are provided by Disability Support Services at our university, as well as through the Aspiring Scholars Program. And we'll talk more about what that looks like, both from a staff perspective and then also from our student peer mentors. Expectations for students are, in order for them to earn a certificate for the program, are to achieve a minimum of 80% course attendance and to complete 80% of the course assignments as they're assigned to them. I will say, just to kind of paint a little bit of a picture, I'm thinking of the courses that students have been really interested in. And Rebecca, feel free to chime in if there's more here, but we've had a lot of students recently interested in the arts and photography and theater, also early childhood and education. And it's been really fun to see the courses that students are choosing for their career aspirations.
Yeah, one thing I can add, Allie, is there's 2 courses that we highly recommend all students take. We call them foundational classes. And one of them is called General Education Learning 101. And that is a great introduction to university college life. And so it's about 80% of all of our incoming first-year students take that class on campus. And so all of the students so far have been taking that class, and that's a really great introductory class for students on a college campus. Another class that we encourage and worked out well is a communications class. So we want them to pick courses that align with the career, but we also want them taking courses that would just better them overall in general, and as far as increasing their skills for being a college student and for anything on campus. And so communication was a really great class as well.
Thank you for adding this important point.
As Ali mentioned, we provide a lot of support for students in classes, and we do a lot of collaboration with the professors and lecturers of all the classes, and working with our DSS supports to ensure that students are have access to everything, and that they're able to participate at the best of their ability in all of the classes they're participating in. And one layer of support that we utilize is peer mentors. And peer mentors are college students on our campus, and about half of the peer mentors who volunteer choose to volunteer because they're interested in being a peer mentor and providing one-on-one support to students with disabilities on our campus. And then about the other half of students are brought to us through service learning on our campus. So there's a handful of our courses on our campus that require so many hours of service learning. And so the Aspiring Scholars Program as a peer mentor is listed as an option. So some students come to us for that. One of the nice things is some of the students that have come to volunteer their service learning hours with us fall in love with being a peer mentor and choose to volunteer above and beyond their required hours, which is wonderful. But peer mentors can provide support in a variety of ways to our students. They can provide students, as you can see here, they can actually go to class with students and provide that one-on-one support in class. Peer mentors meet with our students before and after class and study with them, help them complete their assignments. In the very beginning of the semester, they would just hang out with them on campus to show them where all the buildings were, show them different places to eat lunch, help them navigate the campus. And then a lot of the peer mentors they've been chatting with the students and find out there's certain campus events that students are going to and have offered to go to those events with the student. And so they can be a layer of support for campus-wide activities as well. And so we're very, very grateful for all of our peer mentors, and to see just the interest that they have in our program and the ways that it's affecting their own future career choices. They've been very passionate for advocating for ensuring things are accessible. And a lot of our peer mentors have now found an interest in going into the field. One other aspect, as I mentioned earlier, is our internship. So we want to make sure that students have the opportunity to gain the skills that they need to be able to apply and be hired and then maintain that employment. And so starting their second year with us, in addition to a minimum of 2 courses, as Ali had mentioned earlier, they can take more than 2 if we want. We had one student take 4 last semester, but in addition to their coursework, part of their week will be in an internship. And as I mentioned earlier, it's very individualized based on their needs, based on their interests, and also based on availability. And so that can look like anything as far as it can be. We have academic internships on our campus, which are not paid. A lot of programs also have other students doing academic internships. And then we can also explore paid internships for students. Their second year in our program, which is their first year of internships, it's focused on on-campus opportunities, and there's many, many opportunities on a campus. And then as they continue their 3rd and 4th year with us, again, depending on if it meets their needs, we'll be exploring off-campus internship opportunities for them. And so that's something that students are very excited about, and something that we work really closely with our employment department on our campus to ensure that we meet the needs of the students and provide the supports necessary for students to be successful in internships on our campus. For the certificate, they are required to participate in 2 years of internships, which is 4 semesters. However, they are offered 3 years of the opportunity of internships, which is actually 6. Most students want to do it all 6, but we do have, there are sometimes reasons why a student wouldn't be able to participate in an internship 1 semester or 2. So they can still successfully get that certificate with only doing the 2 years. But we are anticipating most, if not all, students will be participating in all 3.
Another critical component of our program are our independent living skills seminars. So we have independent living seminars at least once a month, but as you'll see in this sample calendar, we try to get the best speakers that most fit our students' interests and kind of the expertise in our community. And so sometimes they shift around in terms of when they're offered. These seminars are required for our aspiring scholars, unless, of course, there is a conflict with their academic coursework. And then we encourage and welcome our campus community to join the seminars, which is a great opportunity for inclusion, and then also a great opportunity for students to learn about the program and to learn about skills that are going to improve all of our independent living. So these are, very hot, popular topics that, and I would say even as faculty, we would say we learn at the seminars as well. So just an example here, we had this last semester, our seminars focused on, resume development. I hope that in the fall we'll speak about, writing cover letters and preparing for interviews. Some of these seminars are very directly relevant to life as a college student now. So focusing on health and nutrition, stress and coping, the social aspects of college. And then they extend to, preparing students for successful careers that they're pursuing. So really wonderful seminars, and very grateful to our community members who have volunteered their time. So some of these seminars are led by faculty and staff at Cal State San Marcos, and many of them are volunteers, doing this in kind from other local universities or programs. And were really well-intended and popular activities of our program.
So as we mentioned a couple times already, is having students involved in campus life. These are 2 of our students that were attending an on-campus activity with our mascot. Like I said, there are just so many incredible opportunities for students to become involved in, and we don't require a specific activity or a specific number, but we do expect all students to be actively involved somehow on campus every semester that they're enrolled in the program. And so there are campus-wide activities, offered monthly. There's things like, bingo night, movie night, survivor night. There's so many amazing theater plays, choir performances, sporting events on our campus every Tuesday and Thursdays is what we call university hours. So no classes are held from 12 to 1. And so that's when there's lots of fun activities going on in the quad. Throughout campus. Sometimes there's specific activities on certain areas of campus. We support students to make sure that they know what activities are happening. So we help advertise. We're teaching them where to go online to find it. They receive emails that have calendars that show the events. We work very closely with them for them to let us know if they need support and they want to attend one of these events. Then we help pair students together that we know or want to go together, or if they need additional support for any reason. We work closely with our peer mentors to be able to provide support to students. And there's campus clubs is another, huge area that students are involved in. And we just want them to try things. Some students start participating in activities and absolutely love that particular activity and, continue with it all semester. Others, go to the club fairs and find a club, they sign up for it, they go to 1 or 2 meetings and they're like, what, that's not really for me. And we're like, that's okay. There's lots of other clubs, we just want them out there trying things. So the students are very excited in participating in a lot of these activities. And so we do provide, again, it is part of the requirement of the program. And then we provide supports to make sure students are aware of everything that is going on. Sometimes there's so many things going on at one time, students have to choose, like they want to do 2 or 3 things, but they're happening at the same time on the same day. And so as much as we enjoy supporting them in all of their courses, the educators that we are, it is so much it's so much fun and brings us joy in them to help support them getting involved in all of the campus activities that are available to them.
So I want to step back just a bit and talk about, so as I mentioned in the beginning, we just are wrapping up our first year of the program, and we just had our orientation for our students joining us in the second year. So we are essentially doubling our size, actually more than doubling our size, because we took a larger class. Here are some anecdotal reflections on things that have facilitated this program and been really critical to our success. And then on the next slide, I'll talk about a couple of challenges and barriers that we're working through. I also would say this is an area where we need your feedback and support too. So please share with us also, your feedback in the Q&A. So first of all, some things that have been really wonderful. We have had incredible institutional support for this program. This program is grant funded, but we have had in-kind and, just enthusiastic support from so many of our, colleagues, staff, other programs. I would say Rebecca is in charge of planning our orientations, and I think she constantly has no room for all the people who would like to celebrate this program on our campus and meet our students and talk about, what our different programs have to offer. And so we've been really grateful for our institutional support and couldn't have done this without them. We also, Cal State San Marcos is renowned for its accomplishment in supporting students in social mobility. So, it is a basic, higher education is a basic human right. And we are really proud of our ability to support all students in achieving their goals. And that inclusive community, I think it has been a natural opportunity to build in program, an inclusive post-secondary education program for individuals with intellectual disabilities. And Rebecca, also feel free to chime in on this last one, but we do not have a formal training program for our professors. We have opened the entire course catalog to students. And so that means that we are asking a lot of professors who don't necessarily know about this program or know about how to support and accommodate students with intellectual disabilities. And they have been wonderful. And Rebecca, I'll let you chime in here if you have anything to share about our professors and how they've supported this program and our students.
Yeah, I'll just share a little bit because sometimes people ask about this. One of the things the students in our program do before the beginning of every semester is they create a little snapshot of themselves, of anything that they want their professors to know about them and any of their needs and supports. And this is in addition to what the professors receive from disability support services with those specific accommodations. So this is a little more personal. Again, the students choose what they want to share, what they don't want to share. But we make sure that we send that out to the professors before the beginning of classes. And then because the program's new, I have then the opportunity to send an email with that snapshot explaining the program, what peer mentors are, what their roles are if they come to class with them, and then the support that we provide as a program. And so we have been right here, professors can, email us, ask us any type of questions so that we can make sure the students getting support. We collaborate, we talk frequently. I'm, often emailing, just little check-ins to see how everything's going. And again, the amount of support we've received has just been incredible. Some professors have a lot of experience in this area and some don't have any. And so they're excited to take part in this and to learn. And one thing I wanted to share is one professor had shared with me that she's always wondered and wanted to make sure that her courses truly were accessible. And so she was so excited when a student from the Aspiring Scholars Program was enrolled in her course, because she said it was going to have to make her really, look deeply into her classes to ensure things were accessible, and that maybe things would be discovered that they weren't accessible, so she could change that. And so she was really excited about the impact it was going to have on her teaching, because she truly wanted to make sure that her courses were inclusive and accessible to all students. And so a lot of positive things coming out of the classes, the feedback we get from the professors. But like I said, we're very we're communicating a lot with them, and we're very collaborative. And then we're offering, whatever supports it is that professor needs. And I think them knowing that we were right here to answer questions and collaborate with them. Sometimes it was just about how information was taught in the classes. Sometimes it was about, talking about tests that were being given and making sure, that they were provided to the student, ensuring all the accommodations were there. Sometimes it was talking about how can we, support the student to, continue learning and growing if there was in any area that the student wasn't doing well in the class. And, how could we work together to support that student? So thank you, Allie.
Of course, thank you. And then I want to make sure, I do see lots of questions popping up, so I'm going to keep this part brief and move us through to the questions as soon as possible. These are some of the barriers that we're dealing with and thinking creatively about how to resolve and move towards success. Staffing is always a challenge. I am sure we're not unique in this for any new program. We could have, I don't even know how many staff to support this program. We are 3 people that spend a lot of time on the program and then support through volunteers on our campus community. And we need more staff to implement the program, although we're doing an incredible job, I will say. What goes hand in hand with that is funding. So we are grant funded right now, but we are very actively seeking additional funding, both so that we can expand the program's capacity to support more students. We'd love to welcome many students as we could, and then also to make it sustainable long term. And Rebecca will talk a little bit about advocacy, for that. And then the other piece I wanted to touch on is, while we have incredibly motivated, wonderful peer mentors, it's a very big challenge to navigate scheduling because some of our students volunteer their time, some of our students are taking this opportunity through course service learning credit, and on top of that, it's a jigsaw puzzle of student schedules, both the peer mentors and the aspiring scholars who change every semester. And so that has been a challenge. And we welcome your creative feedback for folks on the call who have similar programs for how you've made that work. We would love to learn from you. But these are some of the barriers that, that we're spending a lot of time discussing and working through. And I will allow, leave some space for talking about advocacy for Rebecca in terms of seeking funding for the program too.
So I just wanted to highlight, in case any of you are not familiar, I'm one of the founding members of the Inclusive College Alliance. We call ourselves the ICA. We came together officially, I want to say around 2020. And we initially started as a group of professors across the state of California that either had inclusive post-secondary education programs already, or were interested in starting them. And then as our group grew, we have community members and parents of students interested in attending these programs, or who currently are. We have one family who's involved, whose child is still in early elementary school, but planning ahead for college, and wants to ensure these programs are continuing to grow. And then we have families that are involved who's, have college-age students who are in some programs very similar to this. And so we work together, really trying to support each other and find ways that we can hopefully make these programs not only grow, but also become sustainable across California. And one thing I just wanted to make note about that is, as part of that, within the ICA and then outside of it, within our roles at universities, we all know each other. And so a lot of the programs across the state of California, we're similar, but we are different because our college campuses are different. So some things look a little different of how we were able to implement it. But if IPSEs are new to you, just wanted to let you know that we're pretty similar, but we have some differences across our campus, but we all work closely together and we try to align with each other as much as possible. We get ideas from each other. So some things you'll see are similar, but we are unique to our own universities. I also just wanted to share, as most of you probably know, in September 2021, California Senate Bill 639 ended minimum wage for individuals with developmental disabilities. And then, looking also at the California Competitive Integrative Employment Blueprint that went out in 2015. And so those are two areas that really support the work that universities are doing and implementing these programs. these programs really, align with the messages that both of those communicate to our state. And then if you weren't aware, in October 2023, California Assembly Bill 447 was passed, and that authorizes CSUs and requests UCs to establish and maintain inclusive post-secondary education programs. So there is, and these are just a few things that's happening, but there is a lot of work being done in terms of advocacy for more of these programs. And as Ali mentioned, there are things that we're navigating in the areas of barriers, and it's not, we're working on it on our own, individually on our own campuses, but again, statewide, we are working, together collaboratively, trying to find ways to increase the number of these programs, and then also being able to increase the capacity, because we know that the number of students that we are able to admit right now, being a small pilot program, is not meeting the needs of those in our community. Do you want me to go out? Okay. So we just wanted to share some quotes. And so that have been shared with us. So from one of our first year aspiring scholar student was stated, I love that learning. Oh, that is their quote. So I love learning from my professors and making new friends every day. I love working hard on my studies. Another student said, I like to learn new material on what the class is teaching me. I like the Aspiring Scholars Program because it gives me an opportunity to find out subjects I like. I get to be on campus and make new friends. One of our former peer mentors, she was a peer mentor in the fall of 2023, shared, as a former peer mentor for the Aspiring Scholars Program, it is fulfilling to see the students in the program become more independent and able to advocate for themselves. With a program that unleashes their potential, they have seemingly become more confident as they sharpen their skills. What a beautiful thing that is to witness. And I just want to add, we've only had the students, the first year of the program and just 1 year, and all of us that, whether we're working for or supporting the program, volunteering, everybody has constantly been commenting on the growth that everyone has seen in all of the students in so many areas, just being 1 year. And so we're just so excited to see what the next 3 years can bring them. This was one of our CSUSM lecturers. Shared, I noticed students eager to help so-and-so build upon his skills and also to hear his feedback on their projects. His feedback always seemed to lean towards joy and positivity, and he was a vocal champion of his peers' work. I remember one instance where a student was presenting her work in progress and was speaking negatively about her work. He was quick to jump in and offer his perspective and moral boost, plainly stating that she shouldn't feel bad about her photos. They were really beautiful. Alex impacted my teaching in that he made me see in many ways that joy is in fact not frivolous, but integral into learning and community building. And one of the things I did want to share, the student actually had started the semester with a peer mentor, and she had actually reached out and let us know that, he was doing fantastic and didn't need any peer mentor support, and that he was actually participating and asking questions and answering questions more so than other students in the class. And so it's just really nice to hear from professors, their perspective of the students, involvement in class, and, how they're participating and what they're learning and gaining from being in the class. So our next steps include continued implementation of the program that we started, continuing to evaluate our program, to continually make it better. And then, as Ali had mentioned, our constant pursuit of future funding.
We just want to wrap up by, some thank you. So first of all, thank you for your attention and engagement. It's wonderful to be able to share, our work in progress and information about this program. And our contact information is here. Also want to acknowledge all the people who have contributed to this program. So Taylor and Lisa are tireless supports in our program. Taylor is a graduate student in our School of Education and staff in the program, and Lisa dedicates her time out of passion to our program. And of course, the aspiring scholars and their families for being, groundbreaking in their launching this program with us, and our student peer mentors, fellow faculty and colleagues that Rebecca mentioned at all these different Cal State University programs. And then this pilot program is funded by two funders who are acknowledged here on this slide. And then with that, we'll open it up to questions.
All right, thank you so much, Drs. Jobin and Brooks, for sharing about the Aspiring Scholars Program. Reminder to our audience to please continue to submit your questions into the Q&A. And why don't we'll leave up this slide with your contact information during the Q&A, just in case there are any lingering questions and they can follow up with the two of you. While our audience is continuing to submit questions, I think one big reflection that I had was just the scope of all of the supports and really thinking through how we can improve implementation and sustainability of programs like this, especially since there's such a need, right? 2 programs in the whole state of California is pretty wild. And so that really highlights the importance of these post-secondary programs. I'm wondering from the two of you, in reflecting on the first year of the program, if there are any kind of changes or things that you were thinking of implementing into the second cohort coming into the fall. Were there any kind of lessons learned in that respect?
So I'm going to go ahead. So one of the areas that we are growing and reflecting on everything that we wanted to be able to implement with the program is developing a more structured peer mentor training program, which we're very excited about. We were small enough to where we were able to really do in-depth, training more one-on-one with each individual peer mentor, because we are a small pilot program. But as the program's growing and we're looking at doubling our students, which means the peer mentors will be doubling. So we're very excited to be developing a very accessible peer mentor training that will be both still in person as well as modules. And so we'll be developing that. So that was something that we learned. We learned a lot about, as Ali mentioned, all of the details needed of scheduling peer mentors. And so we've been looking at different resources on campus as to how to be able to get more peer mentors, because it is a jigsaw. And so sometimes we have peer mentors that want to volunteer, but the times that they don't meet the needs of the students. And so we've been working closely with our university to develop other avenues to be recruiting peer mentors. And so that's something that we found that we'll be working on. Anything you want to add, Ali?
So I think those are the 2 primary areas. I will say too, Jeff, for what you commented about that implementation. I know that Rebecca and I are always brainstorming ways to, study what is working and what isn't. And so, thinking about how this program is implemented so that we can translate it to development in other programs is something that is an interest of mine, but we haven't gotten there yet.
I think that's one of the biggest things from developing pilot programs, is that there's so much to learn, but then when you're talking about scalability of something like this, like the hope is really to increase enrollment and to expand, but then coming from a little baby pilot program into something bigger comes with a lot of different growing pains, but also opportunities for expanding. It's great.
I wonder actually too, Rebecca, it might be helpful to mention also is that some of this funding is collaborative with other CSUs that are implementing different programs. So they're not all 4-year programs, but that I think is a strength, is that there are collaborative meetings with the other CSUs who are also piloting these.
Great. And I think also on that note, I did also see a question to Dr. Brooks regarding the ICA. Do you have any additional information or ways that we can share about the ICA with our audience?
So we have a Facebook page, but if anybody would like to email me directly, I would be more than happy to answer any of your questions or get you more information about that.
Great. Yeah, so everyone in attendance, please see Dr. Brooks's email address on there. I see rbrooks@susm.edu. It's the best way to get that information, or sounds like you can Google search the ICA's Facebook page, which is also nice too. Great. Okay, I'm looking at another question here. Again, kind of jumping off of that discussion on peer mentors. Can students work with peer mentors from potentially other colleges or universities? Or do you prefer that the mentors go into local high schools to offer presentations? So I think just kind of where the mentors can come from.
So currently, our peer mentors are college students that are attending CSUSM. So not that we couldn't look into something into the future, but currently our peer mentors are just students that are already on our campus and enrolled students.
Okay, wonderful. And I know that, we talked through some of the inclusion and exclusion criteria. And so I have another comment here from an attendee about one-on-one support for medical and safety needs. Were there other ways I think that you found that additional supports, whether it was that one-on-one or through the peer mentors, that were beneficial for some of the aspiring scholars?
Yeah, so if a student is able to be supported effectively with by another student, then they're matched with a peer mentor. We do say that students need, for safety reasons and the fact that we're not 24/7 supervision for students, they do need to be able to be independent enough if a peer mentor was absent. So they need to be able to navigate campus and still get to and from a class without a peer mentor. If a student needs more support than what a peer mentor could provide, knowing that peer mentor could be absent and that it is just another college student, providing minimal additional support. If a student does need additional one-on-one support for additional reasons, then they can have that one-on-one support. We, as our program, just doesn't provide that support. So if they bring that support with them, then saying like, I'm not able to be independent enough because I need some type of physical or medical support, then they bring that support with them as a student. And I hope that makes sense. And I think that's what you're asking.
Thank you, Dr. Brooks. So to clarify for our attendees, it's not completely an exclusion criteria, right? In that the expiring scholarship program themselves are not able to provide that support, right? We have basically 2/3 of your entire staff in this call with us right now. So it's not the two of you who are unable to provide one-on-one support, but if a student is able to, then yes, absolutely, with open arms, we would love to.
Yes, we have several students currently that require additional support that they bring in. And one thing, that doesn't mean they can't have peer mentor support. So just because that student might need additional support for whatever reason, we still want and do assign a peer mentor to that student if they need it or want it, because that's just a great opportunity to get support from a peer. And so that doesn't eliminate them from getting peer support just because they have one-on-one support that might come with them, for a variety of different reasons.
Yeah. Were the students kind of randomly assigned to peer mentors, or was there a match process? How did that kind of come about in terms of pairings?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yes, there's definitely a process in interviewing the peer mentors. We already know the students' needs and schedule, of course, of the students enrolled in the program or as part of the program, accepted into our program. So with the peer mentors, part of that interview process when they apply is finding out, what their strengths are, what their interests are, what courses they've already taken or currently taken, because we want to align, interests and experiences and education. If we have a student say that's going to a science class, and then we have a peer mentor that's majoring in science, and that might be a good match. And so we talk through what the options are. Sometimes we'll have multiple options, and we'll share that with the peer mentor and say, hey, we have a student going to this class, we have a student who might need help studying, we have a student that needs help during this time, what might be an interest of yours. Sometimes we don't have a lot of selections, and sometimes we do have to match with what's available, and sometimes it's just availability. But we do make switches. If for some reason a pairing isn't working for any reason on either side of the student, then we, immediately make changes. That rarely happens, but if there's a reason we need to make a switch, then we do that.
And then on the internship side of things, any kind of lessons learned or hopes for the next cohort for this program?
So since this was our first year students are just going to be starting their second year. So we've been working on the internship component this semester, and we're spending this entire summer doing that, but it won't be implemented until fall. So we're very excited to start that piece of the program.
Very exciting. I think that, especially given some of the literature and statistics that you had shared, right? 15 times more likely to have competitive integrated employment after graduation is such an important, important statistic for us to hold into our heads. Are there, I know that you're in the process and kind of buckling down for the summer to plan the internship components, but are there kind of common fields or things that many of the students are most interested in?
As Ali mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of students interested in the area of art, whether it's more acting and dancing and singing, or if it's actually, painting and creating art. We definitely have some students that have strong interests and great skills in those areas. We do have students interested in the area of education. Education, elementary education, preschool education, and then we have students also interested in a couple students very interested in science and history. And so really exploring what options will be there for them that can, what jobs are going to align with their interests. And so I'll be honest, a lot of them have been struggling with trying to be able to say, this is what I want to do. And we actually met with one of our departments on campus who came and presented to them and shared the high numbers of college students that change their degree major. And so that it's typically, normal to not maybe know what you want to do right now or keep switching. And I think maybe one of the quotes I shared was when a student was saying, I like being able to take different classes to learn what subjects I like, because that's something that we've really been sharing with them. Like, part of taking different classes is maybe you'll change your mind because you'll take a class that you didn't know you were interested in that field. And so, it's been fun watching them explore different areas, starting to, explore different options that they might not know that they were, interested in. And what's really nice is, as I mentioned, I've started working with our employment department on campus, and they're very focused on not just giving any student on our campus an internship based in the one area that they think they want to work in. They want to give students a variety of experiences, because they find so many times students didn't even know they had a strength or interest in an area, or that job even existed. And so that's why I am excited to be able to offer 6 different semesters, so students can change the internships and really try a lot of different things. I will say one of the things that excites us, I think, is not only are we excited, but the students are so excited to start their internships. And then the campus as a whole is incredibly welcoming as far as helping us find perfect matches for them on campus. So
that. Yeah. And so, many different variables or facets, such as normalizing that it's okay and kind of expected to explore different fields. I love that for all of those students, and as well as including that in part of the structure of the program, that you are allowed to explore and kind of learn and reveal what different strengths and interests that you might have. I think that's great. All right, well, I'm noticing time. I know we can sit here and chat about this lovely program for ages, but I do want to respect everyone's time. Thank you so much again to Drs. Brooks and Jobin for sharing about the Aspiring Scholars Program. We are thrilled to hear about this pilot data and looking forward to hearing more about how the internships go in the upcoming year. For additional information to our audience, please feel free to contact Drs. Brooks and Jobin through the email addresses on the screen. Our recording for today's lecture will be made available in just a couple weeks. So if you wanted to come back to it or to share this with any of your colleagues or loved ones, you're welcome to share that recording to others. Otherwise, we look forward to seeing everyone at our next lecture series. We will be taking a break for the summer vacation, so I hope everyone enjoys the summer break, and then we will see you back here again in the fall. All right, take care, everyone. Thank you again to you both for being here. Bye.
Thank you.